Myself and my best friend Annie, we started this brand kind of without even knowing. This, I think, is one of my favourite pieces, made from just one man's suit jacket. We began making clothes for ourselves. We were that kind of like teen age. We'd go out all the time, but obviously we didn't have any money really. So you can see, obviously this is down here is the original lapel. So we just kind of started to make stuff for ourselves because it was that whole thing that you didn't actually want to be wearing what somebody else was wearing. This is almost the original pocket. Again, it's completely upside down of what would have been here. And this is from trousers. You see, like you recognise that as the back of a trouser. London was very dressy at the time, okay, which is probably one of the reasons that we went for such fine fabrics. We just couldn't afford it. And then the snugness that you feel with a kind of like a cotton rib trim, it kind of combats the fact that when you put the sleeves back on, you lose some length, like so. When we first started, there was a lot of stigma that actually surrounded working with second-hand clothes because the whole marketing of vintage didn't exist then, and there was no market for what we did. And, you know, it could be perceived as, you know, dead man's clothes potentially, which is taking it too far, but which really used to make us laugh. Fantastic. So this is our studio. That's where everything is formulated, designed, created. All fabrics are allocated out. So these are different waistcoats that we kind of get as a stock, and we don't know what we're going to do with them yet. When we first started, everything kind of came from like charity shops, you know, or jumble sales or car boots. That's how it began. But obviously now we buy by the weight. So we work with different textiles merchants within the London area. Some things as well, we still get like donations, you know, and people will be like, oh, and actually I don't want to wear this anymore and I'm not going to use this. And what can you do something with it? The bottom black denims there, they were from a company called London Denim, and in the overwash they'd gone wrong, and so we just had boxes of them in the end to rework.
This is what we call sort of mixing up different old brands of jeans. So you're like taking 2 or 3 different pairs of jeans and taking all the different features off of it and reusing them. But then you've got all the different contrasted denims together.
So you're still getting the individuality off the peg.
And what we're doing is we're just sort of cutting the pockets, so cutting them off and then leaving the rawness so that then when it's washed it frays.
Yeah, so that it grows in time as a piece.
It's a man's jumpsuit, man's all in one. But it's made from one man's suit and some suiting material. Zip guard detail and the flashes of the tie lining. And it shows all the original features of the suit jacket. But then just for a flash on the back we've got what would be a t-shirt with vertical stripes and what would have been the lapel that's detailed on the back, and that's going to have a buckle on it.
David's already pre-cut one that's going to be made for women. Okay.
So you can see sort of these pieces, you can see they've actually been cut from the original, so we're still keeping the features from the original trouser pockets and the original jacket pockets. Keeping all the functional pieces of the suit itself are always really good, so it's in a way we're actually reusing those details from the tailored suit. So it's actually taking something that was much more tailored. It's still tailored, but into a more sort of casual piece. So we actually quite like the contradiction of mixing in different things together. So actually having the traditional man suiting, but then mixing in like a military over-dyed snow poncho as like a panel for detail at the back. So it just gives it a bit of a twist on normal tailoring. And then the linings that we use are usually reused, they're old tie materials, and all those pieces get seamed together to make the garment.
So here's a version of a trench, okay, so you can kind of cut it, and then with the base stuff you can then kind of shape it and then make it just, I think like this I love. Again, taking this kind of detail that works so well, putting it into a dress, and then again the original pocket details from the jacket. So you have the jacket and the sleeves. And one of the reasons for this is that, you know, clothes get worn and they get damaged, so you can kind of cut around the pieces that are broken. Another example and something that we do would be to take the suit and turn it into a corset. We choose to kind of use and continue, you know, the fact that the details and the features that are there already. A little fly top So literally, I think you can probably tell what these were. These are new. See, now we kind of work both vintage and excess stock. So we work with different brands and we rework stock that they haven't sold. So it's pre and post consumer. I think you can probably tell what the basis of this was. Actually American. I think that's actually trying to say Washington. It's very much kind of reworked, just t-shirts, and so it's like, okay, well, we had shed loads of tees, that's okay, so let's do this. So that's what I mean by being inspired by the fabrics that we've got. I mean, there are certain staple fabrics that we love, which is the man's suit, the man's shirt. This is a style that is really popular style of ours, and we call it like the suit shrug neck. And essentially you can see that these were the sleeves, and then what we do is we shape. If you wanted to bring it down, the man's shirt, you know, and just kind of change. They're just quality fabrics. So, you know, it's worth investing more time in to make them relevant for now. They're gonna last, you know, none of this kind of, you know, we just like working with good fabrics. Okay. When we first started, we were doing it specifically to be individual. So that, you know, that was the whole remit, so that nobody else would ever have it. It was a very natural process for us that, you know, we would have made one thing and it would be on the rail and somebody would come in and obviously it wouldn't fit, yeah? So then it's like, well, can you make one for me? And it's like, well, of course. And actually, do you have a specific fabric? And, oh, I have something at home. So that's how wardrobe surgery began.
This is a wardrobe surgery that's just been done. The lady actually brought in it was her father's jacket, and we've actually recut it into a waistcoat. And then, just another waistcoat, but then you've got the detachable hood, so it all zips off. But then with this really, really fabulous
It's just
tie lining
so out there.
for the lining.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, so these were just things we had to extend the body length and everything.
There's no wardrobe surgery, or there's no two wardrobe surgeries that are the same. Could be just that favourite jacket that you wore and brought you luck. So it would start, like this has just been a piece that's over dyed, okay? So this is just, it's actually just an American sports jacket that we've over dyed. This is the plan. This is then the reality of what it then becomes. So you can see that it's mixed with the waistcoat and it's been trimmed. So you can see that this whole section has been done. The collar has been overlaid in the fabric too. It's changing how the fastening is, because still using the original fastening on here and bringing it down, and then lengthening the sleeves
just to give
with
it
it
a
too.
bit of detail.
Just to tie everything in.
This was a customer's jacket that we did a long time ago.
Years ago,
And
it was his father's, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's actually come back for a recycle, so a upcycle. So so it never, you know, it
This
never
was probably
goes.
made about 4 years ago.
So it's a bit raggy, but it's his favourite.
It won't be raggy by the time we're finished. So he'd kind of ripped all up the back here. So we've kind of like put like we were mixing it with the black, and then it got moth-eaten down the bottom. So we're going to rebind it with the black and go in, and even here. So we're going to create kind of special elongated, like almost elbow patches that come right the way down. Very design-led, but also to be able to solve the problem of the fact that it's been eaten. This is a big trademark, actually, of what we do. We're kind of very much known. So this kind of a detail.
You've had some celebrity clients, people like Colin Firth's wife.
Yes, Livia Firth. We reworked one of Colin's Tom Ford suits. The moths had got it. We turned it into this amazing kind of 40s inspired dress for her, and she actually wore it at the opening of the King's speech in Paris. I mean, we all have things in our wardrobe that every time you do a clear out, you never get rid of, but you're not wearing. It could be that same scarf that you were wearing the night you met your husband, or that time when you got your first job, or the best wedding you've ever been to, or so that's where the wardrobe surgery kind of concept and longevity actually comes from. Another piece would be from a lady's suit jacket mixed with snakeskin mohair, wool fabrics, kind of found buttons, just mixing it up really again with the original fastening details that would have been here. I had a customer in last week and her father had passed away and she had some of his really, really dapper suits and she was like, and I want a dress from her father's stuff. So then every time you wear it and what that means, and there's something quite beautiful about it, and it's almost like creating heirlooms in a way when it's like that. You can see, you know, that that's almost like a breast pocket. Yeah. So this is kind of like from the scraps, you know, we try and use everything that we can. So if we've kind of got offcuts from stuff that we've already used, we can kind of reuse it. It can come the whole way up. As the time has moved on, we've had so many opportunities to change how we produce, but we love working. We get such inspiration from working with clothes that have already existed, you know. Little neck.
Just pieces.
Yeah, pieces. Scraps. Exactly. Sleeves. No two sleeves are the same. And again, it's just, okay, how can we use that up? It's like a scarf kind of little shrug, you know, like a cashmere jumper on the inside again. So it's this kind of closing of the loop of textiles, and when we all know that there's overproduction, and so it's, I don't know, there's so many different answers and there's so many different kind of things for what's going on, and we just do our little thing from here.
Okay, so this has come almost a bit more together now, look. So that's the fronts ready.